I'm not a mechanic, but I just got done troubleshooting the shit out of this van. So anybody else who has this van or has a Sierra 1500 V6 4.3 liter 1990-ish, these are some things that may be going wrong if you're having similar problems to the problems that I just had. So let me open this real quick. Sorry, excuse the camera all over the place for 1 second while I get in here. All right, cool. So this is an alternator. This thing's called a tensioner. It puts tension on the belt. There are other components back here that all spin off of this belt. So if this belt has fallen off, then you won't know what components are connected to each other. But if you have the belt still, you'll see they're all run to each other. All of those components are called accessories. Okay, and those are mounted to something called an accessory plate. Imagine there's a piece of metal, okay, and those components are all mounted to that, and that piece of metal that is mounted to the engine block. All right, so things that can be happening. One of these components, okay, could be misaligned with all the other components, and that could be because of maybe 2 or 3 reasons. Maybe the little shaft that they spin on. I can't spin this right now because the belt's on, but if this spins, this little spindle could be bent, so it could be wobbling. Also, the component might be tilted at an angle, okay, because maybe the screws in the back are incorrect, because it's an old van, maybe somebody did some repairs and put the wrong screws in the back of the alternator or one of the components. Also, this thing is mounted, okay, to that plate, and that plate could be bent, fatigued, and that could be taking that out of alignment. So if that's not in alignment with all the other components, the belt could be slipping off. Okay, if one of the bolts is missing from that accessory plate that's mounted to the motor, when you start the motor, even though all the accessories are lined up, so you could line up these spindles, and you can do this, you can look online using a laser, or you can use a ruler and a caliper, but if they're all in alignment and you start the car and you're still throwing the belt off, it could be because that accessory plate is vibrating, and you can't see that until the car started. Okay, how do you get to all this crazy shit? Unfortunately, you just have to fucking remove all of this nonsense. This is here because this broke. It was already broken. We just duct taped it together. So shit like this, it comes out. This crazy ass thing, believe it or not, you need this. So don't throw it away. It doesn't just protect your hands from the fan. So remove that. Shit like this comes out. Any of these easy components that come out, you might have to pop this thing out just to get inside so that you can work inside and see what's happening. Remove all the stuff that's easy to remove, and then you can start looking at the problems. Worst case, you might have to take the entire accessory plate off and maybe buy a new one or find one in a junkyard and then replace that and then remount all the components. Check all the components first though before you do all that, because that'll be a pain in the ass and it'll waste your time if it was just simply one of these components had like a bearing or had a spindle that was bent, so it was like spinning in some in some funny way. All right, so let's see what else. There are also, okay, if this is an older vehicle and you don't know the entire history, when people remove components like this, I said they're attached to that accessory plate. Well, sometimes there are accessory like support brackets, like metal rods that go to the back of some of these components and hook to the engine block. Sometimes people don't put those back in. They don't think they're important. They are important. In fact, that was the problem that I was having with this vehicle. You can't see this, but there's an AC back here, and that AC was flat slapping up and down because it didn't have its support bracket in the back mounting to the engine block. And in fact, that bar was missing, and where it goes, I wasn't able to find another support bracket that fit, so I had to find a similar one and had it machined. Okay, really simple. You'd see how this is done, so that it can mount to one of the other bolt positions on the back of the AC and then go to the engine block. But now it doesn't throw the belt anymore, and it works perfectly. Let's see, anything else that might help you? Don't be scared of changing a steering pump. It's got a lot of these crazy looking tubes like this. Okay, these things, they come like this. You can purchase them from like O'Reilly's. You're just gonna need to find the name. Some of them are called like high pressure hoses. You find them, they come like this. They just come out and you put a new one in. So you're not gonna have to do any welding, or you're gonna have to do any clamping or crimping to some of these components. So don't be too intimidated by it. Also, flushing. There's something you have to do to a steering pump called flushing it. Okay, you remove all the air, make sure there's enough fluid in the system so you don't hear any funny noises and you don't burn the pump out. It's not that tough. You will need a jack, but it's really not hard. It's simply like lifting it up and turning the wheels back and forth as you add fluid while one of these lines is taken off so it can discharge the fluid. And then you just screw it back together and it works. It's pretty simple. Okay, here's another diagnostic trick that's even better than using a laser or even a measure or a caliper and a ruler to see the alignment of all these components. Take all of this shit out, put the belt back on, okay? And then if you have a phone that shoots slow motion video, film the engine. And then you'll get to see all the wobble and all the weird shit that's going on. And you can go to each component one at a time if you want, and that'll really help you address the problem. So, I don't know much about Vance, but who the hell is that? From what I've learned, that may help you. Enjoy.